You're watching Life Skills, Cooking Basics for Teens. I am Stacy, the Teen Services Library Assistant at the Goffstown Public Library. Today we are going to make a snack that is crispy on the outside, creamy in the middle, and we're gonna dunk it into something super saucy. So we are making homemade mozzarella cheese sticks with a homemade marinara sauce. So in addition to making something that is so much better than what you can find in the frozen food aisle, you are also going to be introduced to two kitchen vocab terms, and we're going to practice some knife skills. All right, we have a lot ahead of us. I'm super excited. Before we get on to the marinara sauce, which is what we're going to work on first, I'll show you the ingredient list. We need to wash our hands. So let's do that, and then we'll meet right back and go over the ingredients.
The ingredients for the marinara sauce is black pepper, dried oregano, salt, dried basil, olive oil, half of a white onion, crushed canned tomatoes, and garlic cloves. Tools you'll use are a medium saucepan, dry measuring cups and spoons, a cooking spoon, a chef's knife, and a cutting board.
So our hands are washed. We have gone over our ingredient list. We're pretty much set to go. But before we start on the sauce, I wonder if you're asking yourself, hey Stacy, or asking me, hey Stacy, what is the difference between a marinara sauce and a spaghetti sauce? So a marinara sauce is a quick, simple sauce. You have tomatoes, just a few sets of herbs, in our case, basil and oregano, some onions, and some garlic. It's cooked fairly quickly, in our case, 30 minutes, sometimes less. And it has a more fresh tomato taste to it, and it's slightly acidic. A spaghetti sauce, on the other hand, is a longer cooking sauce. It thickens the longer that it cooks, and it also becomes sweeter the longer that it cooks. And depending on the recipe that you have that's been passed down to your family, or that maybe you find in a cookbook, there'll be some different vegetables added, some more vegetables added. I know one family that adds carrots and onions and celery to their sauce, and there might be a variety of meats. Maybe just one meat, maybe hamburger, pork, maybe two meats, such as pepperoni and hamburg. So that is the difference between the marinara and the spaghetti sauce. All right, so we are set to begin, but there is one final thing. I know you keep saying, Stacy, we're set to begin, but we're not. I highly suggest you wear an apron. And here's the reason why. Actually, I wear an apron all the time simply because I am messy and I tend to get stuff all over the place, and I like to protect my clothes. But particularly when I am using tomatoes or oil, which we will be using later, that is hard to get out of your clothing, so I suggest you find an apron. I'm gonna put mine on. There we go. Find an apron, don't worry about what it looks like, or just wear something that you don't mind might get stained, okay? Now, for real, we're ready to go. Okay, so here's our stuff in front of us. We have our cutting board and some of the tools that we're going to need, our measuring spoons, our chef's knife, and our cook's spoon. And on the stovetop, I already have my medium-sized saucepan just waiting. So first, I am going to put the oil that we need inside my saucepan. So here we go. We are going to use 2 tablespoons. Here's our tablespoon of olive oil. 1. And 2. Okay, just gonna put that right there. My pan right back on the oven, the stovetop, and it's just going to wait for me. Let's work on our onion. So our knife skills. First, here is our chef's knife. here's what I want to show you. This is not how you hold your knife. Don't do that. Okay? I know it looks like it's more stable, but it's actually not. So the grooves that are right here on a knife, right there, that's actually to hold your thumb and your index finger. So if you had your knife being just like this, and you take your hand and just bring it right over the knife, put your fingers around it, your index finger will automatically just kind of fit right there in that little groove, and your thumb is going to fit right here. Now you have a really stable rocking motion that you can use for cutting. Okay, so that's all about holding the knife. Make sure our finger's not like this. It's down here in this groove, and the rest of our fingers are going around the handle. That's going to make it really stable for you. Next, our onion. So what we're going to do first is we're going to need to get this layer of peel off of our onion, and the way that I find the easiest thing to do is take your onion and just cut it right in half. Okay? Today we're only going to use 1/2 of an onion, so we're going to put our other one aside. I'm not going to worry about that. And now you can just peel your onion off. Okay? This little root end right here, you want to keep that. That's going to help us when we do what we call a chop. Okay? We're going to dice up our onions in a chop. Okay? I'm going to cut this part right off. We don't need that little part there. All right. So that we can get our dices to look all the same size, because that promotes even cooking and it just looks nice. We're going to take our onion, it's going to go on our flat side like that. Taking our knife, we're going to make horizontal, this is a small onion, so probably only 3, but we're going to make some horizontal lines in here, okay? So 1, 2, 3. Then, after those horizontal, don't go all the way to the root. Don't go all the way here, okay? I just cut about right there. Now we're going to make vertical, okay? So we're going to go like this. And depending on the spacing that you put will be the size of your dice, okay? Now, down. Fingers curled to keep these ones protected. And up and down motion. There we go. There are our onions, fairly uniform, right? They're about all the same size, so they're going to have some even cooking. Now, as I get closer to the root, it might get a little harder, so I'm going to go back in. I'm going to do a little bit more, couple more vertical, and then we're just gonna go down. Now if we get too close at this point, I'm just gonna leave that to the side. If you think your chop just needs a little more, there are your knife skills, and guess what? Your onions are ready to go. Next, we need garlic. And in this case, we are going to use 3 cloves of garlic. I buy my garlic in the fresh section already peeled. I use garlic a lot. This is faster for me. And then I actually freeze it so that it keeps longer. So I'm going to take out 1, 2, 3 cloves of garlic. Now, if you have fresh garlic that already has the peel on it, I'll show you, even though there's not a peel on here, I'll show you what you're gonna do. You're gonna take your chef's knife and you're gonna put it flat on the garlic like that. And you're gonna take the palm of your other hand and you're gonna give it a smack. And what that will do, if it wasn't frozen, is it will actually smush your garlic down and you'll be able to take the peel right off, okay? So we want to have a small kind of finely minced. And minced just means garlic's a little bit different. We're not gonna go through and we're just gonna keep kind of smushing it down like this. I'm gonna go to these ones. Okay, see how I'm still holding just like that? And I'm just doing like a rocking motion, up and down, up and down. Fingers are curled. Turn back around. Now my garlic's staying together because it is slightly thawed and it's a little moist, a little wet. If your garlic and you're having trouble keeping it together, a little tip, grab a little bit of salt, sprinkle it on your garlic, and that will keep your garlic kind of together so that you can mince, mince, mince a little bit more. I think that looks pretty good. All right, we have our garlic and our onions ready. Our oil is in our pan. All we have to do now is add our tomatoes and our seasonings and put it together. So I'm gonna wash my hands just because they're a little sticky from the vegetables that I was using, and then we're gonna get on to adding all of this together and letting it simmer. All right, now with our onions and our garlic chopped, we're ready to put the marinara sauce together. So I have my medium saucepan with the olive oil that we already put inside. I'm gonna turn my burner on. Again, we're gonna use that medium heat. So on my burner, that's signaled by numbers. So I'm putting mine right on number 5. Whatever your burner says, if it says medium, put it on medium, or if there's a number, put it on number 5. So we're going to add our onions right to our oil. I use my knife to kind of help me pick up my onions. And I'm just gonna drop them right in the pan, okay? We're going to saute, what we call saute the onions, and that's just cooking them till they become fragrant and a little bit translucent, all right? So they get, instead of that kind of bright white color that they were, they're going to become a little shiny, and you're definitely going to be able to smell them, all right? We don't want them to get brown though, so you wanna watch this. If it looks like your heat is too high, always remember that in cooking, you gotta watch it. Just turn it down a little bit. So this is smelling really good. I wish you could smell it. Some of my onions are getting a bit translucent. Altogether, this is probably only gonna be about 3 minutes, really. Does not take long. Remember, as the sauce sits and continues to cook for the half an hour, your onions will become tender. And your flavors will meld together. That is looking really, really good. So after about 3 to 4 minutes have gone by, and you can really smell your onions and they smell translucent, we're gonna put the garlic in. Now here's what I wanna tell you about the garlic. The worst thing is to have garlic that burns. It's bitter and there's no recovering from it. So the garlic is going to go in, and it's gonna go in super fast, like most recipes say 1 minute. I'm gonna tell you like 30 seconds top. As soon as you can start smelling it, we're going to pour that can of tomatoes into our pan, okay? So that nothing happens to the garlic. It doesn't brown, it doesn't burn. So here we go. Garlic in. Quick turn. Right? You don't want it to rest on the bottom, because if it does, it'll brown. I already smell the garlic, so I am ready to take my can tomatoes, and we're just gonna pour it right in. And this is why I wear the apron, because sometimes they're splattering. All right. Give a turn, a little stir with your cook spoon. You can use, I'm using a plastic spoon, but if you have a wooden spoon at home, that's perfectly fine. You can use that also. All right. That smells really, really good. Next, we're gonna add our oregano. So our dried oregano, our herb right here. And we're going to add 1 teaspoon, it's my teaspoon, of oregano. My teaspoon, well, this one does fit in. Okay. There we go. We're also going to add our salt now. I'm going to turn this down a little bit. We're going to add 3/4 the teaspoon of salt. So here's my 1/4 teaspoon. We're just going to use this 3 times. 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. Give it a stir. Next, we're going to add some pepper. I don't measure out my pepper. You can. I tend to just take my pepper mill. That's what this is here. You can use any pepper that you have, and I just put a little bit in. That's it. Remember, at the end of the cooking time, you're going to taste your sauce before you think it's ready, and you're going to make sure the seasonings all taste to your liking, so you can always add more pepper then, or more salt. That's it. We are going to add basil, but we're going to add basil at the end when it's only about 5 minutes of cooking time left. Basil can be very strong, so I put my basil in at the end, and it gives it a really fresh flavor. So now we're just going to let our marinara sauce simmer. That means we're going to put it on our lowest setting, number 1 or low. We're going to leave it right here. It's going to occasionally steam. You'll see some steam coming up, and occasionally you'll have some bubbles. But it's not going to be a rolling boil. It's not going to be bubbling away. We're just going to let it simmer for 30 minutes. And while this is simmering, we're going to work on our mozzarella cheese sticks. So let's get the ingredients for that and the tools that we're going to need for that. From time to time though, do check your sauce and just give it a quick little stir.
The ingredients for our cheese sticks will be string cheese, oil, flour, panko breadcrumbs, and eggs. The tools you'll need are a frying pan, a chef's knife, liquid measuring cup, dry measuring cups and spoons, tongs, a cutting board, small sheet pan, and oops, you also need 2 paper plates and a small bowl. Mamma mia!
All right, so on to our mozzarella sticks. But before we do that, I added a lid to my marinara sauce. I wanted to make sure that the liquid didn't evaporate too much and that the sauce became too thick. So just find a lid that will fit your saucepan and go ahead for the remainder of the cooking time and add a lid while it cooks. Let's move on to our mozzarella sticks. So this is just basic string cheese that you find in the dairy aisle of your grocery store. I have 5 sticks all together, and I'm going to cut them in half to make 10 small mozzarella sticks. Just take the protective layer off, and let's go down here. Here's my string cheese. I'm just going to line them up. Take my chef's knife and just cut them right in half. And there we go. This is going to be the cheese that we will use to make our mozzarella sticks. Okay, next is we're going to set up our what we call a dredge station. Now, dredging just means that you are coating an item of food in flour or breadcrumbs to make a crunchy outer coating. Now, usually there's some type of wet ingredient also that helps the breadcrumbs adhere, and that's what we're going to use eggs for. So this is going to be our flour. This bowl will be for our eggs. This side here will be for our breadcrumbs, and you'll see as we start doing it why I have it in this order. So first things first, we're going to take our flour right here, our 1/4 measuring cup. We're going to take 1/4 of flour, add it to our paper plate. I use paper plates because it's just easy cleanup afterwards. We'll do our eggs after. I'm going to do all the dry stuff first. And then we're going to take our 1 cup and we're going to use our breadcrumbs. Now, I am using Italian flavor panko crumbs. And the reason I use the Italian is because it already has that kind of, those yummy herbs that you would expect on a mozzarella stick already in the breadcrumb. So here's my breadcrumbs, 1 cup right here. Keep your breadcrumbs out just in case you need to add to it later. You don't want to put too much in because then you'll waste it as you can't put it back afterwards. It's going to have egg and other yucky stuff in it. But always keep your breadcrumbs out so in case you have to add a little bit at a time just to finish up those last few mozzarella sticks. You might not have panko. You might just have regular breadcrumbs, and that's okay too. The only difference is that, I don't know if you can see this, regular breadcrumbs are a little bit finer, where a panko is a thicker kind of crumb, and I just prefer that coating over the finer. But anything will work, okay? Any breadcrumb you have at home will work. And if you don't have Italian ones, that's okay. You can just add herbs in, like parsley and oregano and some red pepper flakes. Or you can just leave it plain and just let your marinara sauce completely flavor it. So now we're going to crack our eggs. 2 eggs are what we're going to use. And so I have 1 egg here. Now I bet you're tempted to crack an egg onto the side of your bowl, but actually it is better to just crack your egg right on the counter. You get a better crack. Put your fingers right in there. And there we go. I'm going to put that off to the side. I'm going to grab another egg. Same thing. Right in there. And that way you'll also ensure that you don't have any shells on the side that might go into your eggs. Grabbing a fork, we're just going to scramble up our eggs to combine the yolk and the white. And you'll just scramble that up till it looks pretty uniform. I just use a fork for that. Okay. Our dredging station is ready. I also have a cookie sheet or a sheet pan. I have a piece of parchment paper, but you could use a piece of tin foil. You could use a piece of wax paper. You don't need to use anything at all, actually. I just like to do things like this because it's easy cleanup. And then we are going to, after we dredge and all of our mozzarella sticks, we'll put them on here. We actually need to freeze our mozzarella sticks for about 10 minutes. And that's to make sure that when we put it in our hot oil to fry them, that they're not already at room temperature because they'll melt faster and it's hard to fry them that way. All right, let's get on to the dredging technique. Okay, I'm hoping you can see the setup here. I have my cheese sticks, my flour, my egg, my breadcrumbs, and then the pan that I'm going to put the finished cheese stick on. And this is how it's going to work. We'll have a dry hand and a wet hand, okay? Our dry hand picks up 1 cheese stick, just rolls it in the flour, okay? Coats it a little bit, throws it in the egg. Our wet hand rolls it in egg, then brings it over to the panko breadcrumb, rolls it in some breadcrumb. Then our wet hand takes our panko coated cheese stick and puts it back in the egg and back in the panko. Okay, once we have it coated, we move it onto our pan. Now this is why it's your wet hand. Doesn't look pretty. You don't want two hands like that. Okay, let's do it again. Dry hand. Cheese stick in the flour, drops it in the egg. Wet hand comes over, rolls it in the egg, rolls it in the panko. This roll doesn't have to be super good because we're double dipping. Back into the egg, back into the panko. Sometimes I give a, there we go. And now you know why I told you to keep that panko handy, because you can't reuse panko, right? You can't be putting this back. So you don't want to put too much because you don't want to waste your panko. And onto our platter. All right, we're going to do it one more time in real time. Dry hand coats our cheese stick in flour. Wet hand rolls it in our egg, then rolls it in our breadcrumb. Then our wet hand brings it right back into the egg again, rolls it around, rolls it back to the panko. Coats it pretty good onto our platter. All right, I'm going to get the rest of these all coated and put onto our platter. Then we're going to put them in our freezer for about 10 to 15 minutes. All right, here we go. Okay, so before we take our mozzarella sticks out of the freezer and get our hot oil ready for it, we're gonna check on our marinara sauce because it's pretty much complete. We're just gonna add our basil in now. So let me just move this over. You see our sauce right here. Let's take our lid off. We're gonna add our dried basil, 1 teaspoon. Right in our sauce. Give a stir. All right, I'll bring that over, kind of let you see what that looks like. So there we go. Our marinara sauce is pretty much done. I am going to turn the heat off, put the lid on, and just leave that there. So that we can dish it out after our mozzarella sticks are ready. We need to add some oil to our pan. So this is our frying pan right here. I'm going to take just some regular vegetable oil, 1 cup. Remember, our liquid measuring cup. There we go. I'm going to pour that 1 cup in. Okay, I'm actually going to add, I think, another 1/4 cup. There we go. All right. We're gonna bring this oil up to temperature. We're gonna get our mozzarella sticks out of the freezer and we're gonna get to the frying part, okay? So in this case, I want my flame to be in between high and medium so that we can get that up to the right temperature. Now you could use a thermometer that is for oil to take the temperature. I don't. For this type of thing, I will actually just get a small amount of breadcrumbs and I'll sprinkle them in, and I'm going to show you this. When they start to sizzle a little bit, I know our temperature's ready. So let me go to the freezer and grab our mozzarella sticks. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. You're going to take a little bit of panko of your breadcrumbs. You're going to put it in, and as you can see, it sizzles and rises to the top. That means we're set to put our cheese sticks in. We're going to do them in 2 batches. I also have set up on the side here just a plate with some paper towels on it, okay? So I'm going to take one, I'm going to put it in, 2, 3, 4, 5, really quick, almost just like 1 minute on each side till it browns a bit. This one looks good. I'm gonna turn. Let's give a turn. All you're doing is basically coating all you're doing is basically browning up the breadcrumb coating that you have on the outside. You don't want to leave them too long because then you are going to have a oozy mess of mozzarella sticks. Those actually look great. The hot oil will cook the egg and the flour. Awesome, ready to come out right over here. This is super, super quick. Next batch in. In all honesty, I probably could have done just fine with the 1 cup of oil. So you'll leave those. They're going to brown up. The paper towel is to absorb any of the extra oil when you take it out. Give a turn. You want to use tongs for that. The other great thing about this dredging technique that we used, you can use it for more than just mozzarella sticks. You could make chicken. You can cut up chicken and use the chicken in place of the mozzarella stick. You can have the marinara sauce for the chicken. Okay, there you go. That is it. Turn your heat off. Your mozzarella sticks are ready. They are crispy. They smell awesome. Okay, so here is our finished product. We have our mozzarella sticks and our marinara sauce. Smells delicious. I cannot wait to eat that as a snack later on. I really thank you for cooking with me today. But before we leave, I want to talk to you about 2 books. The first book is a cookbook. It can be found as an ebook on Hoopla, and it is called The Complete Cookbook for Young Chefs. Now, when you look at that book, it is for young children, but I am going to tell you it's put out by America's Test Kitchen, and it has beautiful pictures and really elevated recipes. So I think you should try it out. And if you cook something from that, I hope you share it with us here on our YouTube comments or on Goffstown Public Library's Facebook page. And the other book is a fiction book. It is called With a Fire on High. It is by Elizabeth Acevedo. The premise of the story is about a girl named Imani Santiago. She is a high schooler who is trying to balance life right now, life in her schoolwork, outside, in her job outside of school, and also in being a mother. Now, Emily has a passion, and her passion is cooking. When she is in the kitchen, all of her worries and cares slip away, and she has an amazing talent of mixing ingredients together to make a mouth-watering recipe. She takes a class, a culinary arts elective at her high school, and realizes that upon graduation, she would love to be a chef. But with everything going on around her and the fact that she is a mother raising a young child, she looks at that as an impossible dream. Or is it? So you can find With a Fire on High available as an e-audiobook on Libby and on Hoopla, and also as an ebook on the CloudLibrary and on Hoopla. Well, that wraps up our life skills, cooking basics for teens today. I hope you enjoyed this segment, and I hope you try this recipe. The books that I talked about, as well as the recipes that I adapted from, I will be including in the description field below this video. If you want more of this great content, make sure that you subscribe to Goffstown Public Library's YouTube channel. Now, I hope that you have been doing some cooking and you've been using the skills that you've been learning. So if you have, go ahead and post some pictures to Goffstown Public Library's Facebook page. Goffstown Public Library's teen Facebook page would be great, or also below here in the comments. And also to our Instagram. So I really want to see what you've been up to. I hope that you've been cooking something, so please share those with us. Until next time, happy cooking.